Welcome back to Getting Started with Windows 2D. This is episode 9, and today we're gonna program a scene switcher, and we're gonna also gonna program a couple of generic scenes such that we can switch to those scenes and back and forth. Now, before I get started on this tutorial, I want to address some stuff first. First, the episode's source code has been updated, and I've been actually working on the source code way ahead of the series on video. So if you want it, you can go to github.com/Troublesores, and I'll have the link in the description, and maybe something you can click on if you have annotations turned on YouTube. So once you're there, you can see the other repositories that I have done in the past month or so, and click on Win2D Getting Started right here. And if you know how to do source control using Git, then you can just download the whole entire series. I spent extreme amount of time organizing this way back into the episode 1. So as you can see, this is episode 1 source code, this is episode 2, 3, and so on. Now, as you can see, we're doing episode 9 is right here, and there's also the next 3 episodes after this episode's source code. And basically, it's organized into subfolders, and when you load into Visual Studios, all you have to do is set it as your startup project and then run it. And for example, I'll show you the latest source code, and I did this live on Twitch TV. So now when you load it in, it should look like this. It's a source code by episodes, as you can see here on the right side here. And the way you do a episode is you just double click on the folder and browse to the Windows 8.1, right click on it, and set it as a startup project, and then you press play. And this is the very first episode we did, so it's going to be generic shapes, I think, if I remember right. Yeah, generic shapes. So basically you have text, a circle, and a square, right? Now, to go to the episode that I'm currently on, way in the future, it's we're going to load in a sprite sheet and a character sheet, and then it has backgrounds. It has a lot of stuff, and hopefully I have time to record up to this point in time. But if you want to skip forward into the source code, you can. All right, so let's see what the current source code looks like. So set a start project to episode 2.3. This is season 2. So it's going to be a while until I get there. So, and then we're going to click on play, and you'll see what this looks like. And then you have a generic scene here, and then click on the forest scene, and then you have this nice background that looks like it's kind of 3D, but it's not. It just gives you illusion. So parallax scrolling is also in another episode coming up. And as you can see, here's the dude here, rock dude, and he's walking. And then you can click on the screen to make him jump. So anyway, hopefully in the next couple episodes we'll get to this point. But now we're going to program the scene switcher. So basically, we're going to program this generic title screen, and then we're going to program a couple buttons that we did last episode to switch to, you know, the top score screen, here, the credits scene, and maybe the forest scene later in the future. And then, as you know, look, if you can click on the back button, and it will bring you back to the previous scene. And that's what we're going to code today. All right, let's get this started. All right, let's make sure that this is the project that we were doing last time. It should be the one where we optimized the mouse input, and this is it. Now I'm going to fix a couple of things from last episode. One of the thing is we're going to go to the game loop and the game timer here. When we're updating for the first time, we should pass it a delta t, but if we keep on updating it, then we should pass in a delta t of 0 seconds, because we already updated to the point, and then we're gonna update it basically grab all the mouse inputs and then flush it all. So we don't want to add more time to it. We just want to add one single increment. So we'll fix that code right now. So let's comment this out and we'll redo this the way I said. First, we always have to update the scene. And we pass it the delta time as passed, and then we're gonna see if the next input is a mouse input. So let's peek and take this. That, and then while it is a the next input is a mouse generic input, then we just call update again. But this time we update with a time span of 0. So, and Microsoft has a very simple defined variable for us, again, just time span .0, and we're just going to pass GI to it. And that's it. So we simplify this if statement into a while loop. That's about it. There we go. Oh, I see. We need to also get the next one. See, it's there we go. And let's see. The guy should move, but he shouldn't stop. There we go. Okay. Also, I want to fix this button thing. And what happened last time is you click on the button and it changes to click, right? But I forgot that some piece of code. So you can click actually anywhere and it changes to click. So we're going to change that. We're going to fix that. So we're going to fix that up. So it's in generic button like that. And only if the hover is already true, then you can click on it. So what happens is it actually has to be over the mouse and clicked, and then it should do the text.click thing. So let's test this out. Click over here, nothing happens. Click here, nothing happens. And then we're going to click the button, and there we go. So those are our 2 fixes before we start this episode. Now, let's get to what we're trying to do, which is program a scene switcher, such that, you know, you have a bunch of scenes like the title screen, the credits scene, and maybe the top score screen or something like that. And when somebody clicks on it, it should go towards that scene, and then it should have the option to go back. And the way we do that is we basically keep the scene history in a stack. So when we go to another scene, we push the current scene on top of the stack, and we keep pushing it if there's more scenes to go on to. And when we press back, all we do is we set the current scene to whatever is on top of the stack, and then we pop it off. So basically it works like a history list. Now let's program some generic scenes in here, and I'm gonna make a new folder called scenes or whatever, and then we'll add in some scenes. So the first scene is going to be called the title scene, something like that, right? Yeah, that's fine. We'll make this an S for now. Alright. And we're gonna use the correct namespace here. And this class, it just derives from the generic scene. Look at this, basically. And this is a generic title screen with some buttons. Right. A function called set up the scene, so we can position the elements on the screen in the correct places, like the and the start button or whatever, right? So let's just do that. Right, and when you're creating the scene, we want to call it, the very first thing we want to do after the constructor is done is to call the scene. So just go setup scene like that, and then this code should run. Now let's think about what we're going to have in our tile screen. I'm going to have a big label, right? No back button, because this is the very first scene that they get jump into, so there's no actually history at this point. But it's going to have 3 buttons: a top score screen, a start screen, and a create screen, right? So let's create buttons for that. So I'm going to create buttons for that. So this is the start button, top score button, and the credits button. That, and in the setup screen we're gonna create all those. So start button, we call this start a new game. Top score button, view top scores, and the credit buttons is going to be view credits, something like that, right? Then we have to add all these to the scene, of course. So let's do that. Alright, so now they're part of the scene, but we don't have actual coordinates for them. So let's just make up some coordinates right now. And let's do 100, 100. And this one will be 100, 200. And this one will be oops, 100, 300. All right, so let's change this a little bit. 100, 200. Now that should be it. When we draw it, it should just have 3 buttons in a stack, basically what it comes down to. But we need to actually create this scene. We do that in the main example page here. Scroll up here, and this is where we create the generic scene that we've been working on for the past 9 episodes. So what I'm going to do here is create the title screen here. So like that, and then we're going to set it as the current scene, so then we can, when we press play, it draws it. Now this is going to draw up really weirdly because we don't have any of the width or heights of the button set up. So let's see what happens. Yep, see, it draws it, but it's not in the correct spots, and it doesn't have the correct width. So we're going to change that right now. So we'll go back to the title screen here. Okay, so basically, alright, so we'll create a generic size here. Of 300 and height of 50. And then I'm going to set this to set all the freaking buttons to this thing. And No, I think it should draw a little bit better now. Let's see it out. There we go. And we have 3 nice buttons. Now we want to center it on the screen somehow, okay? And we're going to write that function. And we're going to write it so that any scene can use it. So we're going to write it in the generic scene. So this is the base class here. Okay. We'll call this center object, right? And then we're going to give it a couple options, to center it horizontally and to center it vertically, because sometimes we don't want to center it vertically, you just want to center it horizontally, and vice versa. So but the default is going to be true for both. Okay, and then we want to also pass in the generic item that we're going to want to center. So first we check to see if it's not null. Now we want to know, we want to center it horizontally, and how you do that is you take the screen, divide by 2, and you take, that'd be the center point, right? So center X is basically the size of the width divided by 2, and center Y is basically the size of the height divided by 2. So basically this will give you the exact point where the center point is at. Give me some okay, yeah. And then now that we have the center point, we want to adjust the object so it is centered. And how you do that is you just minus the center of the object that you want to center. And it just, it's weird, but the math works out pretty correct. So then this is basically GI, that size, that width, divided by 2, like that. And GI, that size, that height, divided by 2, something like that. So now this is the center point where you want to place your object. So right, center X, center Y, and right now we haven't taken consideration of these flags, but I'm going to see if this works right now. So let's go back to our tile screen here, and we're going to center the start button. All right, and then we're going to get rid of the top score and the credits for now, and see if the start button is actually centered on the screen, and it's not. So something's happening. So let's see what happens here. I'm going here, X negative 150, and so we got incorrect values because I'm thinking these are zeros as well. Okay, so somehow we need to pass in the size for the scene here. So you got the width and the height, right? And then let's just do this, and we'll fix this up in just a bit. Basically what we did in the main example page, we're going to do it here. Okay, like that. Probably want to make it unsigned integer and unsigned integer. So there we go, and then here we're going to have to pass it this and this. There we go, so we don't need any of this crap anymore. And let's give it a go here. There we go, it's centered. Now click course. All right. Now that we've done that, I want to create a function that does this for us, because this is just nasty, right? So in the generic scene, it derives from generic item. So we're going to have a function called SetSize. SetSize like this, and it just wants a width and a height. Set the size and the desired width and the desired height. And that's all you have to do. And we're going to put this in here. So then in our title screen, we just call set size with the width and the height. Something like that. And we don't have to do this anymore. So we just set size here to 350 and set size 150 and the same thing here. So get rid of this. Now what I want to do is create the 2 extra buttons that we have lower than our start location. So basically it comes down to just having the exact same location as the previous button, but increasing the Y value. That's basically what it comes down to. Since the button's 50, we'll do by 55. And same thing here. But of course it has to be after the top score button, so we're gonna make it relative to each of the buttons location. All right, see this showed up. Okay, then of course we have to add in the objects again, and we're gonna move the center up here first. So basically set the size, the center on the screen, and there we go. We have 3 buttons and they all respond to click. Now we want to make a title screen, so there needs to be a label style, like basically a piece of text that you can't click. All right, so what it comes down to is we're going to create another GUI element called label. So let's go class here, call this CGL label, right? And make sure we're using the correct namespace. There we go. And this is a generic item, of course. And then we're going to just borrow from the button here. But it doesn't have update, but it does have a draw. We want to override the draw. So basically we're going to copy everything from the draw on down to here, because the label is a button, but it's not clickable. Okay. So here we go. So we have border color. We don't have a highlight, and we don't have a hover. So there we go. But we do have a border color. And we don't, since we don't have a border color, a button, we just go like that. So just draw the border color anyway. And that should be it. Alright. And in the next episode, or maybe later in the episode, we're going to actually redefine the button as a label, deriving from a label, and then adding the extra stuff on. Because basically they're the same thing. Alright. Now let's create a big giant label onto the title screen here. Alright. There's a label. I'm going to call this title label or something, right? Then let's create up here. And we want to give it a text, actually. There we go. Good. Generic label here. All right. So this dot text equals text. All right. Now in the text screen, we're gonna create this big old thing called generic title, like that, and then we're gonna add it into the scene by doing this. All right, and we're gonna give it a size. So we're gonna use that set size that we did, and we want it 90% of the screen. So we're gonna do this. The width here times by 0.90 float. Actually, let's make it 80%. 80% of the screen. Like that. And of course, we need a converter over here, and then let's make it 250 in height. And we're gonna center this object as well. Center object, and this is where we wanted these flags to take in consideration, because we don't want to center this big label, because then it will be over the start button. So we want to just center horizontally. So this is going to be true and this is going to be false. Right now, I'll see what we're going to show you what happens when we don't take consideration of these parameters, because I haven't coded it in yet. So it's gonna just cover it. Let's see. See this button here that has like a lot of crap on it? No, we don't want that. So the text is red. We should change that actually, and border color. So let's set the border color to white. As default. There it is. It's pretty big. Now let's go back to center this again. There we go. See, we've got the center thing that's nasty, and we want to move it up here. We just want to center it horizontally. So let's fix that. So we're going to use a ternary operator such that if it's true, it's set to one thing. If it's false, it's set to other. So this is how it works. Just do like an if statement, but this time without the if. And then it's a question mark, and then it's a colon. Now, the thing that you want to set to before the colon is when this statement is true. And if it's not true, then center x will equal whatever's after the colon. So, like that. And after colon, we're just going to set it to whatever location it was previously. Like that. And then we're going to do this as the same thing to the vertical as well. And we probably want to convert this to an int. I think, because this is it's a float, yeah. So let's see how it goes again. It should be only center on the horizontal. There it is. So it's center on the horizontal, and we have 3 buttons here. And let's mix up the label a little bit and give it more options. Okay. What we want to do is have like a font size maybe, and maybe a text color along with it. Okay. So the text color is usually called the foreground color. Like that. And default, we're going to also make this white. And when we paint it, we're going to have the foreground color here. So basically, whatever you set the text color to, it's going to paint it. There you go. Now this is every single button or text is using the same font, and I want to change that, or the font size, right? So let's change this, and usually it's a float, so font size, and I think the regular font size is going to be 18 float. And to do a font, I think it's in here. Yeah, there we go. That, okay. So we just changed the generic font size. Now we want the title of the screen to be a lot bigger than the buttons. So we're going to change that. All right, here. Tiles label dot font size equals 48. So this is going to be pretty big. There you go. There's the generic scene here, okay? And now you have the 3 buttons. And you click and they do nothing. And we want to get rid of this as well, because that was just a test case, right? So let's go to button here and get rid of it here. Okay, we know that's basically going to be clicked correctly. So there you go. So we have label, and we got 3 buttons. And right now we're going to stop it here, and then we'll finish the episode later.